Welcome to the 9642 podcast. These are your hosts, Mr. NumberNine.
And this is the Fool.
Welcome, everybody. This is the first episode we are recording this season. I had to clarify that it's the first we're recording this season because there have been a few episodes we have recorded last season, which we hope will be published this season, or at least be part of podcast this season.
Yeah. Also, this may come out after this next week. We'll be having the live Fantasy League draft for our Fantasy League for EPL, so which may or may not happen before this podcast released. And that will be counted as a live podcast as well. So technically it's the first bit.
So you can look forward to that.
Yeah.
Now, if this happens after that podcast, well, I hope you guys had a good draft.
Yes.
And got some good bargains. Now, we have a lot to talk about. Shall we go through this particular podcast, what we're going to talk about, and our plans going forward for this season?
Sounds like a plan.
So this one, basically, we're going to focus on football and the EPL in general. We are going to mix it up a bit, look at a few other leagues. Hint, hint. Some famous characters and that we love to talk about. We might be making reappearances. Some people may call us journalists even. Some other people would probably just call us stalkers. But language is like a thing, right?
Yeah. What are words, really?
They're just words. So we're going to talk about EPL now. Things have been heating up. The season is due to start on mid-August, and everybody's trying to get all their transfers in before the transfer window closes. And let's start with Chelsea. What did you think were the positions Chelsea needed to buy players in, and who are you particularly hoping Chelsea gets this season?
To me, it's a bit of defence. Even though we've got a reasonably good defensive line, it was perhaps the most fragile-ish. I don't know the right word for it. It was pretty good, but it just needed something in there. It depends a little bit on the structure we're going with, and if we go with a back five or a centre back three and two wide wing backs, then we probably do need another centre back, though we have decent ones there. We have Thiago Silva, Cesar Azpilicueta, and then any of the others to fill in the other side, but maybe just one more there just to make sure it's got good depth.
Yeah, I also feel like Chelsea have a lot of depth they need full stop because they have let a lot of players go.
Yeah.
So far, there's no incomings if you look at their transfer dealings so far this season. And we'll point out that it is still early days.
Yeah.
But some notable people who have left include Billy Gilmore on loan to Norwich. Olivier Giroud has gone to AC Milan.
Yeah.
Marco Van Ginkel to PSV. Fikayo Tomorrow on loan to AC Milan.
And it's likely he'll go there full time. He's still loaned, but I think there's a clause in the contract or something about him being able to be brought by them, and it's highly likely they will trigger that clause.
Yeah.
I see Victor Moses has finally actually left.
Yeah, Victor Moses has left. Yeah, I mean, Victor Moses, I know Chelsea fans seem to always back him, but he's kind of a useful player to have in your team. He covers a lot of positions. He's a really good squad. And Mark Guay, who I think we should point out, basically one of the gems in the academy, who's left for Palace, though for 18 million. I'm not sure. Reportedly 18 million. For a player who's not yet played for the first team, that's some good money, but I think Chelsea would rather have the player, right?
Probably, yeah.
And Miles Peart-Harris as well. So it's a few academy people who are leaving, which is going to happen with Chelsea all the time. But that just means they're losing a bit of class in their bench strength, especially their young bench strength, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that depth. And with Giroud going as well, need another striker for sure.
Yeah, so now there's obviously two players who Chelsea are heavily linked with, Erling Haaland and Romelu Lukaku. I'm not going to ask you whether you want Erling Haaland, because obviously you want Erling Haaland. He's like a player who's probably going to win the Ballon d'Or 4 times in the next decade. Like, you probably want him in your team. But his buyout clause is 150 million. It's 75 million if they wait next summer. now if Chelsea go for him, nobody else can have him, and they can probably keep him for 2 or 3 years before he can look to go to a club like Real Madrid, if he looks to go to a club like Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Especially if Harry Kane and Jack Grealish go to City.
Is that would open the doors for us a bit more as well, given that would have be able to spend money on him, so he wouldn't. So yeah, no, though I see here the rumor mills more that rumor mills that he's going. Seems likely that he's actually staying in Dortmund.
I feel like he's gonna stay at Dortmund as well,
Yeah,
but I think Dortmund would probably want to sell him. Would you want to lose out on $75 million worth of income for a transfer for a player who's gonna leave? Sure, he's not gonna leave on a free, sure, but
yeah.
he's still gonna leave.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's that as well. Like, it's one of these ones that's hard to know which way it's going to go.
It's not a small amount of money, right? Like
No, it's not
it's
a
not
small
money
amount of
they
money.
can any Bundesliga club can leave on the table.
No, it's going to be a hard choice, both by Dortmund and by Haaland as well, about where he goes, what he does, how he wants to progress his career. Yeah, but I was just having a quick look, and it's looking. The money seems to be more on that he's not going anywhere,
Yeah.
even with the money on table and all the other deals going on. I guess that's not necessarily the case. It can change very quickly. And you know how football rumors go. It's
Yeah,
always says one thing, but it's actually the other.
absolutely. At least Chelsea's core squad, with the huge amount of players they bought last season, are all very young.
Yeah,
And I feel like Chelsea have a core group in that squad now. And as I agree with you, I think they just need, unless they've got some guns in the academy that you know about that I don't, Chelsea just need to get another centre back or two, obviously.
yeah. Maybe a wing back,
Yeah,
both sides. Maybe. I mean, we've got good ones. It's just ensuring we have the cover for it. I think, or provide. What was the other great term they used to always use? Providing the competition for the place,
yeah,
so that it strives there. And so with Drew going, that's potentially a striker spot as well,
yeah.
just to push that
I
all
think
along.
your midfield is very strong at the
Yeah, it's
moment. Like
not.
like a midfielder would be kind of a luxury buy at the moment.
Yeah.
But as you say, you do need to shore up a bit on the defense and get another
Yeah,
striker.
yeah. So the defense is really just about a little bit about
Yeah,
the experience. We've got Rudiger, we've got Silva, we've got Aspilicueta, but you know, past that for central defense, got Kurt Zuma, Andreas Christensen, and then it's young players. So having another solid head in there, basically, so that would things would be short of. I mean, Christensen's looking pretty solid, same as Zuma. Zuma has his moments. Christensen's
yeah,
maybe a little bit more dependable,
yeah,
consistent. It's a little sad that Tomori will probably stay at Milan, but he's
yeah.
actually
I
very good.
agree.
But such is life. Sometimes you don't always get what you want, and sometimes the players like, no, this is good life over here. So
Yeah, I think that's one of the potential downsides of the loan system that Chelsea employ.
mm,
Like you can find somewhere better if you're
yeah,
a player. If you don't think you're gonna have If you don't think you're gonna make it to, say, the Chelsea first team in 2 or 3 years, you're just like, yeah, I'll just go elsewhere.
yeah. I mean that was Lukaku, right? Maybe he'll come
Yeah,
home and show his worth. But that was his story. You know, on loan everywhere, didn't get the chances at Chelsea, and knew that it was better to play somewhere else and get first to be guaranteed starter somewhere, as opposed to the bits and pieces he was getting at Chelsea, and that's how it was going to go.
yeah, exactly.
And you can't say it particularly hurt his career. He's been
Yeah,
a very good striker, no matter what.
same
So.
with yeah, and this is not even taking into account players like Mohamed Salah and Kevin De Bruyne, who
Yeah,
Chelsea have just sold.
yeah. That was just I don't know timing, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, whatever reason it didn't work with us, and but I think we always knew both their class. It was just wasn't quite fitting, wasn't quite working, and worked better for the players to move on. And say they moved on and then found their way into a new position in the Premier League and excelled
yeah,
ridiculously well.
yeah.
Both of
To
them.
be fair, Chelsea did sell Salah and De Bruyne to clubs that were outside of the
Yeah,
Premier League. They just ended up coming back
yeah,
and biting them.
yeah. That's how transfers go sometimes, right?
Yeah. Now, if we were to look at how would you rate Chelsea's chances if there were to be no new players coming in the league?
No new players coming in. I would feel it would be a bit dependent on injuries,
Yeah,
and like as long as there wasn't any major injuries to the season, especially in defence or striker, would probably be okay, and it would be a season that would be not too dissimilar to last season. Hopefully better than parts of last season, but probably not too dissimilar. And I would expect
yeah.
once again another top four finish.
Like
Um,
even if we assumed City don't get Grealish and Harry Kane,
yeah,
would you be confident that the current team you have with no incomings, in theory, be good enough to compete with that City team? I know that we're both saying if City get Kane, that's probably the end. We can just hand them the Premiership trophy
yeah,
pretty much at that point, I think.
yeah. Once again, it's without
They're
injuries,
like,
yeah,
that's a 100-point season. Like, is
yeah.
that
Just
unless he's injured? Like,
yeah. They get Kane and if they get Grealish as well, it's just like, well, I guess the rest of us are fighting for second. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's crazy if that happens. Um, but no, I would have faith in the current squad without any additions to be competitive and say to. I don't know if they would be fighting for the championship come the end of the season, um, even with just the squads as they are. But I would say they would be close.
yeah.
And I mean, that's why I look at like
I'm
last season,
inclined
maybe a
to
little bit better.
agree.
So yeah,
I feel like a lot of Chelsea's young players will just pick it up a notch because they all improved towards the end
yeah,
of the season and they all played reasonably well in the Euros.
yeah. Oh, they're all really good players. So yeah, I don't doubt that it'd be good. So I just look at it and go, the problem is what if Thiago Silva picks up a long term injury or
Yeah.
Azpilicueta is out for a reasonable period of time, or Werner or Abraham. Suddenly there's
Apparently, the club is listening to offers for Tammy Abrahams, and he
was it?
may go to Arsenal on loan.
Ooh, well, I was thinking once Drew's gone, then that was less likely. But I guess if they're aiming to get more strikers in, maybe. But even that,
I feel like
City,
either Lukaku, because Lukaku
yeah,
is going to be coming at a cut price, at least
yeah,
because Inter Milan need money.
yeah, it's a good point.
Um,
So maybe
but
we'll be able
even
to,
Lukaku will cost at a minimum 80 million,
yeah, yeah,
probably more. He's like basically a 20 goal a season striker, right?
yeah.
Like,
But even if he comes, like I don't see why we would loan out Abraham. Like he can still, other than Abraham wanting to play more games.
I think there's a
So
feeling from the club that they, especially if they get another big name striker, that the attack is already kind of loaded with players like Havertz and Pulisic
yeah, but
and
they
Timo
play.
Werner, of course.
Yeah, but they played
And
the attacking
especially if,
midfield role more, and Werner's been playing there as well. So
I feel like Tuchel's also kind of hinting that he wants to play more of a false nine
yeah,
formation.
I guess that's that. He's not going to play the if he's getting Lukaku, that's like it's Abraham, same
Yeah,
style, right? Sort of
similar. Yeah.
similar-ish. And I
But
would,
like I think Lukaku's there as a plan A, but then your plan B is to move to the false nine, and you
yeah,
just
I
have
see.
that
Yeah,
uh, tactical flexibility. Though, yeah, that makes Giroud like letting one
yeah,
of both Giroud and Abrams go. Like I agree with you. I'm just
yeah,
like this is just the rumor that we're hearing is
yeah,
all.
yeah. I understand, but yeah, to me, it was if Drew didn't go, then Abraham moving on, at least on loan, was highly likely. But if Drew went, then the opposite was true. And it's because they
Yeah,
were planning on getting everybody. They plan on getting Haaland and Lukaku somehow. They,
I think at least one marquee signing will
Yeah,
be there at
it'll be one of those
Chelsea,
two,
and
I'd say.
either Lukaku or Haaland will be a marquee signing, no
Yeah.
doubt. But I feel like you might get another, like I said, a good defender as well,
Mm.
someone to who can perform well for the team.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think overall that if I were to rate your chances with the current squad, I could easily see Chelsea finishing in the top three with the squad if with no incomings versus say Man City and Man United. That would be the top three in my head
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at that.
Yeah. I would hasten to agree. A little bit depending on the on the movements of Kane and Grealish. Obviously, if Kane stays at Spurs, that gives them a bit more of a threat as well, and Liverpool still.
I mean, there's still some good players that Chelsea could possibly if it's a money thing to try and
Mm.
get Holland the because obviously I think if Erling Holland goes to Chelsea, that's what 400K a week
Yeah,
salary, if that, or 350 at least.
yeah,
So the wage structure is going to change, and that means you'll probably have to sell a few players.
yeah. Which makes more sense, therefore, with Drew moving on as well. So that
Yeah.
I'm sure would open up a reasonably large chunk of the money of the weekly salary available.
Yeah. And there's always a lot of good players at Barcelona. Everybody's rating them
Yeah.
since they're technically not allowed to register Messi till they fix their books.
Ooh, ooh. That makes things there a
And
bit interesting as well. Then.
yeah, yeah. Now, if we move on to another team, we'll go to my team then, Man United. So far, excuse me there. So far for once the transfers have actually looked pretty good. So United have let a bunch of our youngsters go on loan, like Tahith Chong and Reece Devine.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Rojo has left, and I think
Oh,
Facundo Pellistri has returned from loan, so I think he's gonna be kept in the team.
oh, cool.
Yeah. So there's a bunch. There is, I think, a bit of. United needed to get a center back this season very desperately, and they have
Mm.
as of this morning signed Rafael Varane for 41 million.
Oh, that's
I
good.
think a great deal all round.
Yeah, yeah.
Real need the money, need to move the contract off their books. United really need a good center back. He's probably the best center back in the world, and he's about to enter his peak probably at
Mm-hmm.
this stage. And 41 is for a top player in their position. 41 million is a bargain, right? If you
That is a big
compare,
bargain these
like
days.
Virgil van Dijk was 80 million.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Now, obviously, I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying that, this is just comparing the price point. Varane should hopefully, basically, I think he also complements Harry Maguire really well. So I think United's defense has gone up a notch because there's obviously a big squad of players at United who are all decent defenders.
Mm-hmm.
Players Lindelof and players like Eric Bailly, Phil Jones, they can all kind of sit in for games because
Yeah.
obviously they're not. United have a full load of games, so they're not all gonna play all the. So Varane and Maguire aren't gonna be available for every single game.
No.
But you've got, like I said, Victor Lindelof, Phil Jones, and Alex Telles to go slot in. The fullback situation with Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw actually looks really good as well. So
Yeah.
United just really need to figure out their goalkeeper situation. Like if Dean Henderson is gonna take over, that's almost like I think United would have sold David De Gea this season, but I don't think anyone can afford anyone outside of the Premier League and I don't think anyone in the Premier League wants him. And even if they let him go, nobody can afford those wages. He's on 375 a
Yeah.
week, the highest paid player at United
Yeah. Yeah.
at the moment. And so If he now if they were to move De Gea, then I think United would probably buy another reasonably top level player. There are rumors that they're looking for someone like Camavinga from Rennes, who's a young 18-year-old, uh, supposedly the new Kante slash Pogba,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
but still very young. So
Mm.
I'm not the one saying that. And there's also Ndidi from Leicester, who's supposedly also a target for United.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
And I think both would be good. I think United do need a holding midfielder just because
Yeah,
we know what McFred can do, but uh, and we don't really have any other options in that position. And if we get a good holding midfielder who's good, like without not play the double pivot, then even someone like Bruno Fernandes who likes to go in deep and play make from the deep can actually go back because he's basically has to carry the attack at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah.
I mean, he's the best player in the team, but yeah, that's where he's at. United will probably sell Pogba. I think it's almost a done deal with PSG. I think it'll be 50 million, and I think once that happens, United will probably get another holding midfielder. Like that's pretty much signed in. So yeah, overall, if you asked me before the season, United got a good midfielder, a good defender, and a good winger in terms with Jadon Sancho coming in.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
be like, yeah, I'll take that. That's good. Good transfer. I think that covers pretty much every position we needed to get another player in for. I think we probably need to sell a few players here and there. But overall, I'm happy with the squad. I don't think even with Varane and Sancho and even maybe a good holding midfielder, I don't think the team's good enough to compete with Manchester City, especially a Manchester City with Jack Grealish and Harry
Yeah,
Kane.
that's a scary, scary thought still.
Though to be fair, apparently Bernardo Silva wants to leave.
All right.
But
Yeah. That makes it
that's
a
like
little
small
better, I suppose.
consolations. Yeah.
Yeah. Small consolation.
But yeah, that's the situation. Like United, if City get Harry Kane, then yeah, United are trying to play for second place, and that's probably a squad good enough to get second place. To be fair,
Mm.
I think, yeah, it's just we always know City get their man, right? Like we're
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
and even without like City won last season without Harry Kane. I mean, sure, they don't have Aguero, but I don't think if they don't get Harry Kane, I'm pretty sure City are going to get another striker. They have a plan B
Yeah.
in there
No,
somewhere.
definitely.
Yeah. So, I would be kind of happy as a United fan. Maybe we'll do well in one of the cups, but yeah, I don't think we're gonna win or compete for the Premier League. I'd be very surprised. Like, I think that would involve basically City having 10 players injured for
Yeah.
like 7 months, like 10 starters, I'm
Yeah,
meaning.
yeah. And even then, I mean,
And
last
even
year,
then, their first 11 are good enough their backups are good enough to do really well, but it's the backups getting injured, then, because when you have that many injuries, it's your third stringers that need to
yeah, yeah,
come come up on the table or
yeah,
come up to the table and yeah, get in there. So far, I think I give United probably I won't be unfair. I think that's an A plus transfer
yeah, yeah.
window if they get just for those two, like two good players in two positions. And
And
I'm
two needed
presuming,
positions as well.
yeah, yeah, and I'm presuming there will be a midfielder, but even not taking that into account, I'd give them an A plus.
Yeah, yeah.
Next up, we can go basically alphabetical. Arsenal. Rumors are they're looking for Ben White. Good
Mm.
player, very
Yeah.
good player. Would greatly improve Arsenal's defense. Were he to join, I think Arsenal have gotten rid of a lot of players who were basically like, obviously they've got a whole bunch going on loan because they have a lot of young players, but
Mm.
they've sold a few of their young players to get some money, but they've got Albert Mboyo Lokonga, who's from all reports a class player who's gonna help improve their midfield.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so he's a bit of a box to box type of player,
Yeah.
and Nuno Tavares as well coming in. It's hard to judge Arsenal because if they do get Ben White, and I think that will happen, just because it's just Brighton just gonna end up having to sell him. I think it's from all the reports Ben White's gonna angle for a move if he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And so I think
It's the sort of
that's
one that's quite likely to happen.
yeah, and I feel like if Arsenal get a thing like that, maybe one other, if they do have to sell Lacazette, then they definitely would need another striker. But if they keep
Mm.
Lacazette and Alba and manage to sign them, then they just maybe need another defender, I think, Arsenal. And they've got that
Yeah.
solid defense, and they're probably a team that's competing for the top four again.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Just needs a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of new blood in there, and we should get back to a, a decent Arsenal, an Arsenal that we're used to. Maybe an Arsenal that will make the Arsenal fans at work actually happy. We'll find out.
We'll
They are
see.
Arsenal fans, so
Yeah,
they
like
tend to get a bit grumpy about everything.
that's true. Very true. But yeah, I feel like defense has been Arsenal's issue for a while, and obviously they need a. This is why Xhaka is such a huge deal. But if
Yeah.
Lukongo's gonna be that shield in the midfield protecting that defense, then yeah, they have the firepower to do
Yeah.
really well.
And just looking, it looks like that Ben White deal's pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. He's
Yeah,
going through his medicals. Transfer fees have been agreed to. So
yeah. So we can just assume that one's done.
yeah, we
Like,
can just say that's done.
so that's a good transfer window, I think, for Arsenal. I think they
Yeah.
maybe need a bit more, but that's good. I think at least an A minus, if not an A. I don't know about an A because I think there's still heaps to do with the squad,
Yeah.
and there's still probably could have sold a few more players. But yeah, I think A minus. What grade would you give Chelsea so far? It's hard to give them a grade because they
Yeah.
haven't bought any players.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean,
I guess so far you're forced into an F because it's all
yeah,
outgoings and no
it's all
incoming.
outgoing. It's yeah, it has to be an F in terms of current. But if they pick up one of the
Yeah,
two main targets, then
yeah. Then
and
it
add
at least
a defender or two into
I
there,
think
then
Haaland would make it at least a B. Lukaku would make it at least a C plus. Just
I
if you
think
got those.
yeah, I think if we get Lukaku, you could probably call it B minus if we didn't get a defender of some
Yeah,
description. Um, yeah, with Haaland, probably a B plus, maybe a B. Like I feel it's not too much. Getting Lukaku over Haaland is not too much of a drop.
yeah,
Obviously, Haaland is currently a better buy, but
yeah,
at the same point, you're saving cash as well all round. So
yeah.
it
I mean, you're getting
balances
at
itself out a
least
bit.
3 or 4 seasons of good top level play from someone like Lukaku
Yeah,
as well. And you know he's a known quantity. We know he can play in the Premiership. We know
yeah,
he's gonna get goals.
yes,
I mean, there's no risk with Haaland just because he's so good. But yeah,
yeah. Oh, it's just I think with Lukaku, you won't get as much of a because he comes from the Premier League and then it's gone off. You won't get that lull of getting up to speed, as they say, which is wrong, but just getting used to the different play style. And Haaland's still going to have that. Um, yeah, he's absolute class, so it's probably not going to be too much of a problem, but it's still both of them will still
yeah,
have that pressure on it. I think I just feel like Lukaku will settle in quicker with that pressure, with that expectation, and with the play style of the Premier
yeah,
League. Whilst Haaland may just take it. I mean, it would only be a matter of weeks, maybe a month, between in in the two alternate universes where Chelsea gets one of those ones before it's sort of settled down. But just makes it a little different, and say it's still well, Lukaku's still going to be like half the price of Haaland. So,
yeah,
I mean, that helps a lot, which will mean that if they get Lukaku instead of Haaland, more likely to have picked up one or two, key defenders to slot in there, which will make it more likely that we'll get to that you could give them some sort of A rating.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. As for Arsenal, I don't know. I think I'd give them a. I mean, they got good transfers, but I'd probably give them more of a B plus,
A plus?
just
Maybe
because
you're right.
there's.
B plus. You're right.
I mean, it's hard because it's good transfers. It's just
We know they need
they need
another
more.
defender. Yeah,
Yeah,
they do.
and they can't get. I know that they can't get everything
Yeah,
in one go, and they've still got what 2 weeks until the
sure.
Premier League starts. And I think
They haven't lost any key players. That's the
no,
big one. Like if they lose Lacazette, then
oh
it's
yeah,
gonna be a yeah. Then we'd obviously change our grade. Moving on from Arsenal to your eternal arch nemesis, Aston Villa. Apparently, Jack Grealish has almost pretty much signed his personal terms with Manchester City, so he's
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
move 100 mil for that.
Ooh.
Good. I mean, 100 mil is a good fee.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, that's within this time, Villa can probably buy a few other good players.
Yeah.
That being said, their incomings were Ashley Young on a free.
Mm.
Good luck to you, Ashley. You've done well for United for a long time, so wish you all the best. Um, and Emiliano Buendia, who played for Norwich last season, don't know much about him. Morgan Sanson. So far, not many incomings. A bunch of players who are out on loan or gone for free, including Tom Heaton, who moved to Man United back to his youth team club.
Mm-hmm.
I think also a very good second keeper for United to have, which is why I also think De Gea or will be going
Yeah.
at some point. That being said, Villa, like 100 million's a lot of money. You know they're going to get something for it. But if they didn't get
Yeah.
any other players, Grealish is going to go, and you can't keep a player of Man City's after them. That's just
No.
so I can't. And I think they got good value for Jack Grealish, 100 mil.
100 mils good
Uh,
value.
100 mil is good value. So I think so far it would be unfair to give them anything less than a B. Think they negotiated hard, and if they don't get any other players that for the rest of the window, then that B will go down to a C plus for me.
Yeah,
But
we,
I
they got to do
assume they
something with it,
will.
right?
Yeah, I assume they're going to do something with it. Strengthen their defense, get another midfielder, obviously in there somewhere. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I agree with you. It's a good the Grealish deal at the 100 mil is a good deal for them. So that's positivity. So that's at least a B currently, maybe even a B plus. But a little bit is what do they do with that? They've just got 100 million, and if you're doing that, you've got a star player that you've let go and got good money for. You need to be bolstering your squad for that. So they need
yeah.
to take that money and really just ensuring that they have a squad that's
It's also very
going
like
to
I
move
think
forward.
without Grealish, we're obviously thinking that Aston Villa is going to struggle for relegation, at least till we know who they're getting. Like
Yeah, yeah,
that's going to be a team that's going to find it hard to get goals. But that being said, I think there should be someone coming in.
yeah.
So fingers crossed, that should be that'll work out well for them. But yeah, I think yeah, B for me, even B.
Yeah. So I'd probably give them a B as well. As I could make the argument for a B plus, but that is leaning on them definitely have already got users for that 100 mil, and
Yeah,
I'm not sure they really do. So maybe just a B.
I mean, I hope they would
Well,
because they must have known
what
Jack
I should
Grealish was going to leave.
yeah
But
I should
yeah,
change the wording of that. What I mean is there's no solid doesn't seem to be solid um,
yeah,
incomings based off
rumors.
that are or even sort of dealings like yeah they're talking with these players and yeah so it may just be all because it's all back room and they're not really advertising as much but yeah that's we work off the information we've got right so
So next up we have Brentford in their first ever
oh,
Premier League.
yeah
Who
woo Brentford
yeah. So we still keep the number of London clubs in the Premier League at 6. Was it 6? Yeah, it's 6.
Yeah.
Um, let's So their incomings are Miles Peart-Harris from Chelsea, who I think is a good player, and
Mm-hmm.
all reports suggest he's a good player. Is Christopher Ayer from Celtic, who's also apparently a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Winston Reid on loan, who could be helpful in their
Oh yeah,
defense.
as long as he
Uh,
stays fit.
yeah, and Frank Onyeka from Midtjylland, who I
In
don't know
fact,
much about.
yeah, maybe with the Winston Reid one is if he gets back to fitness since he
Yeah,
got injured at the Olympics.
yeah. And their outgoings, there's a couple of people on loan, but they've got Sideburn, Ben Rahama going to West Ham, who I think was a pretty good for them in the championship last season. So that's going to be interesting. Um, Brentford obviously need to get some players in. It's a long season. They want to survive. They just need to get bodies. So I wouldn't be surprised. I like what they've done. They've got 4 good players in there. Looks like, to
Yeah,
get them in. Maybe another defender. I would think they should be targeting just to protect their, just to just give them another body to use when you
yeah.
start getting into those
Well,
really hard games at the end of the season when you're fighting relegation.
yeah. I feel like they've got 4 good players in there,
Mm,
but they may need just a few more just to
mm,
really bolster themselves for the Premier League. Like it's a step up from the Championship. Though I guess you got the squad that got you there, then having a bit of faith and giving them that leeway can work. But
yeah,
it just feels light. Like I don't know, maybe they decided it's not. But normally you got your promoted clubs and you get a flurry of transfer activity from them as they try and
yeah. And I
fix
think
the holes they have.
a lot of their team, it depends on how well Ivan Toney and Sergi Canos adapt to the top level,
Yeah.
the Premiership. I think Ivan Toney's a really good player. He was Championship Player of the season last season. I
All
think
right.
he
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
have been, if Brentford hadn't gotten promoted, he would have been signed by a Premiership club. So this is, and Pontus Jansson played pretty well in the Euros for Sweden. So they have a decentish squad around. It's gonna be really difficult to see how well this team will do. Like, yeah, as you say, I think we still feel like there needs to be another, maybe 2 players, maybe another striker and another defender in there somewhere, someone who
Mm,
or player who can play a lot of positions. You just need to have somebody who can cover people when they get the injuries.
yeah. Yeah. So it just feels a little short. Maybe another couple. Give it a bit of oomph and a bit of depth and a bit of experience as well. Like just making sure you've got people there that can provide the experience for everybody else. For this is top flight football. This is
Yeah,
the cutting edge
exactly.
stuff. This is what you need to be. This is how we need to be going about these games. Yeah, championship football is not to be sneezed at.
Yeah,
Um, but it's now another step up. So it's just looking and going, yeah, Winston Reid, you're definitely getting that. Um, but yeah, Ayer or Onyeka, are they providing that higher level? Yeah, they're both very good players, but I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know enough about them to be able to look at it and go, yeah, that's giving Brentford what they need. So
yeah.
I don't know.
It's difficult with the newly promoted sides. It's not
Yeah,
much we can. We don't know them as deeply as we know some of the Premiership teams, obviously.
yeah,
But yeah. So at this stage, I think Brentford. I'm gonna give you a C plus.
yeah. That's what I was thinking as well. C plus. I was wondering if I was being a bit harsh and B minus, but I think C plus. I mean, it's not bad. I'm saying it's not bad transfers. It just feels like it's missing a little bit. So C plus.
Yeah. So moving on from Brentford, we go to another club from the south, Brighton and Hove Albion. They so far have gotten 4 new players. Kale Sherpen from Ajax, goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Enoch Moepu from RB Salzburg, Jeremy Sarmiento, and Moises Casiedo. I can't see any rumors about who they're potentially getting. I'm sure there'll be a couple more. But yeah, they've basically swapped goalkeepers. Matt Ryan's gone to join Real Sociedad, which is fine, I think. Not that I've watched enough Eredivisie to say, but Ajax tend to train good goalkeepers, I think.
Yeah.
And Brighton
Okay.
just need to keep their core team, just upgrade and refresh that core team, right? So the I could see they probably still, I think, need another striker, in my opinion.
Yeah. I guess the thing there is um, replacing Ben White.
Yeah, that's the
But,
big question.
but I'm
The
assuming that so it's still 50 million they're getting in for that. So that's
yeah,
for them. I would suspect that should be. I mean, it's not huge dollars, but it's still nothing to be sneezed at.
yeah. I
And
mean,
get you a couple of good players in.
50 million for Ben White. He's an English player, so
Mm.
that's probably about fair,
Yeah,
a deal to get given his age and the level he's at. Like if you compare, he's slightly more expensive than someone like Varane, then
mm.
if you compare the two, United have really made a good deal.
Yeah,
Um, and so you could also suggest Brighton have gotten a good deal out of it as well, like money wise.
yeah,
We know that it's Brighton just somehow always managed to stay in the Premiership and not
mm.
get relegated. So I fully expect them to be able to do that again this season. They just, like I said, I think they just need one more like attacking player on that team, and that's it. Fine to give, and I feel like that's where the Ben White money will go. They'll buy like a championship striker and maybe get another defender
Yeah.
they've scouted. So I am inclined to give them a B minus.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking probably B minus, depending a little bit. Once again, they do have 50 million sitting there from the Ben White deal, which is a decent enough deal. So it's the same thing. It's how do they spend that? Do they
Yeah.
Are they going to spend that wisely? So you're getting a decent enough cover to slot
Yeah,
back into defence, and then say maybe a championship level or higher striker that they can journeyman striker that they can stick in and get them some goals. Um, so yeah,
yeah.
I think a B minus seems fair.
Just looking at their outgoings, they do have a decent amount of players leaving, including Glenn Murray, the old veteran, who's who's just turned 37. But yeah, so far.
Yeah, I
Uh,
didn't see anything too.
sorry?
I didn't see anything too worrisome in their
Yeah,
outgoings.
yeah.
I mean, so there's a reasonable things, but some loans.
Yeah,
But yeah, just seem to be the mostly the sort of turnover you expect from a mid to low level table team who's just trying to find the right combinations each season.
exactly. So moving on to them, to another club that also traditionally in the relegation scrap, Burnley. Now, I think Burnley were extended a lot last season just because they were playing Europa, I believe, as well.
Yeah,
And they just had a huge amount of workload on their players, but they still managed to get through. But oof, only two players coming in for Burnley this season, Nathan Collins from Stoke and Wayne Hennessy on a free who wasn't on a team. That's never a good sign.
yeah,
Few players leaving here. There are not many, but yeah, it doesn't look like there's any rumors of players coming in as well for Burnley. So I'd be a bit worried if I were a Burnley fan, especially as all the other teams around them who are
mm,
going to be in that relegation scrap have reinforced their squads. There's still a lot of time to go in the window, but I think so far, yeah, it's very difficult. This might be my first fail grade. No, we already gave Chelsea a fail grade, didn't we?
um,
Like
just on the
Chelsea was a
grounds that they haven't done anything yet.
yeah. It's an F because they sold a lot of players and didn't have anyone coming in. I think this one might be a D plus or a D, that sort of level. Like I know Burnley can't just splash the cash, but yeah, it's always scary to see if a club like Burnley not have any significant incomings.
Yeah, it definitely is missing things. I feel like without Europe, they maybe this is how they're feeling that Europe they will fare better in the Premier League this year than they did last year, where they just managed to scrape themselves through. But I think you're right that you know every other team's improving their squad. So
Yeah,
and you're never perfect, so it does feel very light. That there needs to be something. So I don't
yeah,
know whether they haven't secured that yet. And then rumor mill is Burnley, so nobody really is worried about the rumor mill around who's going to Burnley. Have to see, but I think you're right. It's a D grade for me because once again they're not really doing anything.
agreed. Moving on from Burnley, we go to a club who I think have done really well in the transfer window in Crystal Palace. Now, we've already mentioned when we were talking about Chelsea that they have gotten Mark Guay. They managed to get a Michael Olise from Reading and Jacob Montes and Jean-Philippe Mateta, all decent players. The main question we have about Crystal Palace really is how will Patrick Vieira fare as a coach?
Mm.
Obviously, he's a great player and he's done some interesting things with his coaching career so far, but this is going to be his first proper high-profile job.
Yeah.
He's at a decent club to start at, and I
Yeah.
think the club are supporting him. They're just buying players available. They're looking at, I think, Crystal Palace basically, I think, just need to find a proven goal scorer somewhere. Like, I mean, obviously they don't fall from trees,
Mm.
but Christian Benteke is not someone you can rely on for goals, I don't think.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean I don't mind their forwards. Yeah, Jordan Ayew, Wilfred Zaha, Jean Philip
that's true.
Mateta, Christian Benteke, Connor Wickham. Like they're all decent enough players. They're all good players that can score goals. Um, I know they just seem to have recent years not. I think it's right. It's the consistency there, but like that said, they're all really good players. And there's no reason why that consistencies can't be
Yeah,
found. Um, so I don't know, but it does feel like adding a whole other striker in there is sort of you need to get rid of one of them potentially if you're doing that.
that's true.
Um,
Um,
but
and
maybe
also,
that's a good way of freshening it up and trying to get more out of that front line. But
yeah, and the squad is reasonably old. Mark Guay, who they got from Chelsea, is 21, but most everybody seems to be around between 27 and 30-ish sort of
Trent
age.
Mitchell 21, Sam Woods 22. We got a few youth players there. Hannon, Alessi, but no Kirby,
But I
Jensen
think
Rick. Yeah, nothing.
we're nothing too bad. And really, when I was talking about a striker, I was picking at straws, really. I think basically Crystal Palace done a solid transfer window.
Yeah,
For me, yeah, I can't. And I think they're not done even. Like I get the impression they're not done, but even if this is all they did, I'm like, yeah, that's a good transfer window. That's a solid. You're going to stay in the Premiership. You might improve on your position. You might even compete for Europe this season with the squad. So, yeah,
yeah.
CP, I'm gonna have to give you an A plus here. My,
Yeah, no, fair enough. So I don't know if I give them A plus, but then I don't know where. It's a solid thing. It's solid transfers. Seems to be picking their covering their weaknesses. To say giving them what they need, but
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I can't quite give them the A plus for it. Feel like it's an A for sure. But yeah, I can't really put my finger on it. I guess it's just a little bit of me is being the top club aficionado,
Yeah.
elitist, not having any noticeable marquee player signing. It's all solid. Definitely going to cover the weaknesses. Definitely going to. It's good for Crystal Palace, but yeah,
I think Guerri is their marquee signing. He's 18 mil.
yeah.
And I think they did need to shore up the
Yeah,
defense.
no, it's still good. I'm not taking away from that signing or any of the others. But I still feel A is probably closer for me.
Fair enough. Now, moving on from Crystal Palace, we go to the blue side of Merseyside, Everton, and they have gotten so far Demarai Gray uh, from Levant, I want to say, and um, he's had he's probably the so far best player they've gotten. Sorry, Leverkusen he came from, not Levant. So and they've got Asmir Begovic, who's solid backup keeper. Andros Townsend, who is he's seen better days, but maybe he can improve in Everton. But yeah, it's a bit underwhelming from Everton from my point of view. I feel like there could have just been. I feel like they're missing a proper marquee signing, as I would say, because Everton want to be a top six club, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they were close to being competitive last season, but everybody around them has significantly strengthened, or they're like in a position of Chelsea where they bought a lot of really young players who are going to be better this year than they were last year. You assume.
yeah. Yeah, no, I see what you mean. I
I
think you're
mean,
right.
they
It's a
have a
bit.
solid enough squad, and they're all very experienced. I'm not expecting Everton to be relegated or anything like
No,
that.
no.
It's like that's not your ambition, Everton. You want to be a top
Yeah,
six club,
yeah. The
like
question
I assume.
is these transfers improving Everton more than what everybody else's transfers are improving them?
Yeah,
I think you're
and I
right.
don't think they are. I mean, I'm not gonna give them a D. I don't think it's that bad.
No.
Because they've already done, they already have a good team. And there's some solid players they've gotten. But yeah, my inclination is to give them give Everton maybe a C minus so far. Pass, but it's just a pass.
Just a pass, yeah. I was thinking maybe more of a solid pass. I mean, nothing's wrong, particularly wrong with their transfers. I mean, I'm still just going a C, but um, yeah, it's a pass. It's a reasonably comfortable pass, but there's nothing particularly great about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, moving on from Everton to a club that made it to the top 10 last season and managed to secure their position in the Premiership, Leeds United,
Ooh,
the l- the Whites.
mm,
Yeah, so three so far really good buys. Lewis Bate from Chelsea, Junior Firpo from
yeah.
Barcelona, Jack Harrison from Manchester City.
Wow.
I mean, that's solid. I can't criticize that at all. Maybe they're not probably done. I feel like they will get at least one or two more players. But yeah, they've just overall just strengthened the side with the team with more quality.
Yeah, you're right. It's a pretty solid three incomings there. So
And I think a lot of their players showed that they can play at the Premiership level, like
yeah.
your Bamfords and your Rodrigos. So it's hard. I think, yeah, Leeds have secured their survival in the Premiership because, as you know, second season syndrome can happen, as Sheffield United found to their detriment.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good team. There's
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
wrong with that. Yeah, another A mark for me, at least somewhere. I don't know if I'll give them an A plus because I still think they need to get a bit more, but yeah, that's if they get nobody else, that's an A. Me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like that's an easy A. I, yeah, given an easy A, I think looking at those players, so you get a couple more in there, and it could be the A plus. But I think yeah, Firpo, Harrison, Bates. I mean, I was complaining before about not a marquee signing, but me, Junior Firpo
Firpo's a
counts as
marquee
that.
signing.
That counts as that for Leeds. Like, and it's in
Easily.
a something they need is definitely could count as a marquee signing and feels better.
Yeah,
So maybe there's just another one or two signings needed to really push this as an A plus window for them, but at least an A.
yeah. Now, moving on from Leeds, we go to Leicester, 2015 Premier League champions. 6 years on, still a very competitive team. Now, Leicester really want to make the top four this season, I think.
Yeah,
Now, looking at the rumors, we know that Arsenal are trying to get James Maddison. Now, side note, if Arsenal manage to also get James Maddison and Ben White, that's a solid window.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
just putting it out there, like
I mean,
that easily pushes them to an A plus window from there. Like two good English players you just managed to get. But obviously
yeah,
it depends on the thing because player Arsenal are looking to do a player swap deal. There's another rumor going around because Leicester has a good team and there's a bunch of their players who are supposedly coveted by a lot of who are coveted by a lot of clubs. They've also got NDD being looked at by Manchester United. Now, if they lose both those players, this let me just say, if they do lose both Madison and NDD and they don't get anyone good from that swap deal with James Madison, that's
yeah,
that's gonna make them a fail grade. Uh, and I don't think I'm being too harsh because those are two key players for Leicester,
definitely.
and they've already lost Ben White. That being said, they have bought Ryan Bertrand, who's a very solid operator, very experienced on a free from Southampton, so that's a very good piece of business. They've got Bobakari Sumare, uh, so to shore up that midfield. So um, if they do lose a Ndidi or someone like that, they have brought in a defensive midfielder, or and also I think he's a good gives the team a bit of um, a bit of tactical flexibility, just having another good defensive midfielder in the squad. But yeah, Leicester probably still. I think their forward line is obviously solid. Jamie Vardy is, while he's getting on in years, is still good. Obviously, as he's shown us in Kalichi and Iheanacho is a good player as well.
Yeah, and
And I think maybe they might look to get another striker, just maybe a young striker, not a marquee signing type striker,
yeah,
just to have somebody else in that squad to give them a bit of a break. But yeah, there's a solid. They have a solid team. They have a solid youth system. They didn't need to buy too many players. They just need to make most of the money they've gotten from the players they have sold. I think.
yeah,
I think a solid replacement for Ben White will. Uh, Sorry, Ben White. What am I saying?
yeah,
Solid replacement for James Madison if he leaves. If he
yeah,
doesn't leave and they manage to keep all their players and DD just keeping all their players and getting those guys in, I think B that's a solid B. It may be even B plus just because their players are wanted
yeah,
and they're managing to hold them off just means yeah, they don't
yeah.
need to get into a deep buy of players.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think if they keep their players with what's come in, then B plus, maybe A minus. Um, if they sell medicine and Ndidi and then use the money, get good money for them, and then use that to strengthen back, then definitely an A minus, if not an A, depending on who they get. But if they, but if they medicine and Ndidi goes and they don't replace, then
Yeah.
yeah, you're looking at D grades at about that point, I think.
Yeah, I think
So it's
so.
how quickly that can drop away. So say
Yeah.
at the moment, yeah, let's give it a B plus.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a solid so far.
so far, but there's the potential for it to fail very quickly,
Yeah.
but also potential for them to push up into some into the A ranks if they can make some good deals out of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Moving on from Leicester City, we go to the red side of Merseyside, Liverpool FC. Um, Now they have already lost a class player in Wijnaldum, who went on
Mm,
a free. That's already going to affect that grade.
yeah,
I'm afraid to say for Liverpool
it
fans. I mean,
looks
like,
like.
Liverpool have a really good squad. There's not many players they needed to sell, but
Mm,
Wijnaldum is like a Gigi Wijnaldum's basically like a player who can do everything. There's very few players like him. Just being in the position where they couldn't even get a fee for him is a terrible position to be in.
yeah, yeah. It does
That
sound like
being
he just was not happy at all. Like
Yeah.
things just weren't working.
Now, if they get Kylian Mbappe, amazing. Like that just changes their window.
Yeah,
But Red fans, just for the sake of this argument, I'm just going to assume you didn't get Kylian Mbappe in this. We're not going to get Kylian Mbappe in this transfer window.
yeah,
So far, their incomings have Ibrahim Konate from Leipzig is a good player.
yeah,
Ben Davies is coming up uh, from the championship, so it's hard to judge. And Ozan Kabak is a good player, but yeah, Schalke did get relegated last season, right? So
yeah,
yeah, it's tough to judge. And also like Davies and Kabak, just looked at it. They were there. They moved last season to Liverpool, so they haven't really replaced any. They haven't not. They basically not replaced Gigi Wijnaldum, and they haven't lost anyone else. To be fair, but that's a big loss.
yeah,
So far, I have to. But they've got Ibrahim Konate as a defender, and they will need a defender. So that's a good business there. So
mm,
I'm inclined to say they're just on the thing. They're probably just on a C minus.
yeah. I think I agree. I
I think
mean,
like this is actually no, I can't give them a C minus because I think if they don't get any other players in this window now, this is basically them not making top four. Like I think
yeah,
Chelsea have improved, Leicester have improved, City and United have improved, and even
mm,
Arsenal have improved.
yeah. You make a good point on that.
So I
And
can't give them like I just thinking about that, I can't give them a C minus. I have to give them a D. That's a fail grade for me. It's not an F. But yeah, that's a D.
yeah, I think you convinced me. I was thinking maybe it was a C minus was where it's at because I was sort of feeling like they haven't done anything, but and they did lose without Jim, but certainly that was a bit harsh on the transfer window. That's more a reflection of the last season or so, and
Yeah,
obviously just his feelings about it all. But as you say, though, they still lost him, and they haven't replaced him, and they haven't improved the squad really,
yeah,
and everybody else has. So yeah, they need to do something.
yeah,
Whether that's
exactly.
an Mbappe thing or not,
Yeah,
it's yeah. I think on the current status of it, it's a D.
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, this all changes if Mbappe goes to Liverpool,
Yeah,
which I don't know if they need Mbappe because they are stacked
yeah,
on the attack, but yeah. Now, moving on, do we even need to go to Man City? They're gonna get an A plus. It doesn't matter. Like they just always end up getting an A plus, and for their transfer windows.
yeah,
Do
pretty much.
we even really need to review this? They've got Jack Grealish, probably gonna get Harry Kane.
Yeah.
I
Mm,
mean, yeah, and okay, if they might lose Bernardo Silva, which is
yeah,
yeah, that's a big loss. But they've got a bunch of players in there. They've lost Sergio Aguero on a free, but he was very injury prone, and we're probably
yeah,
getting a like for like replacement with
Yeah,
Um, with Harry Kane over there, maybe an upgrade, really, even with all due respect to Sergio Aguero, an upgrade. Harry Kane at this moment is an upgrade over.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
uh,
it's Harry Kane in 2021-22 is an upgrade on Sergio Aguero in 21-22.
yeah,
Maybe not an upgrade on Sergio Aguero, 10 years ago, but
yeah,
that's not the Sergio Aguero that you have now.
yeah, exactly.
So I
Um,
mean, I guess the only question is, yeah. So they're definitely Grealish, but Harry Kane is
I mean, even
still,
just getting Grealish is enough to put it into at least an A, right? If not B minus at the bare minimum.
yeah. Well, it's yeah. Getting Grealish makes it just a pass, a high pass. So you say you can't go below a B, and I would say yeah, A minus is probably where it's at with Grealish.
Yeah.
Um, because
Uh,
that's such a good deal that they've
uh,
done.
and if they get Kane as well, that's there you go. See you
Yeah,
later.
yeah. They get
Yeah,
Kane as well. It's as you said, may as well just start engraving their name on the trophy now. Like,
yeah. I mean, and if they don't get Harry Kane, I'm sure they have a backup plan
yeah,
striker. It
yeah,
might be Lukaku. It might be who knows? Was
yeah.
be crazy if it's Holland. I'm. Because then we're just like, okay, so for the next 10 years, do we just type it out on the Premier League trophy? Like
We'll just start now, right?
pretty
Pre-printed.
much. Yeah. So that's City. We've already discussed Manchester United. So
Hmm.
yeah, both Manchester clubs, I think that's a fair A. They're in the A's easily.
Yeah.
So do we even need to look at it? I don't think they're getting anybody. And they pretty much yeah, they were just about relegated last season. They've got Joseph Willock from Arsenal. And yeah, the do we think uh, he might come back from Arsenal if he makes that loan
No,
deal
that was
permanent.
a loan last year as well.
That was a
But
loan last season, sorry, but
oh, is
that's
he
the
coming
guy who
back?
they're looking to sign on a permanent.
Oh, I see. So
But even if they did get him on a permanent, I'm like, okay, so far I think this is the first real F because I don't think anyone is thinking Newcastle's getting any interesting buys. They've gotten rid of a few players who were probably taking up just wages at this point.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry, not even those were from last season, and Lewis Cass is away on loan. So yeah, Newcastle don't look like they're doing anything. And as we mentioned, everybody around them is tightening up.
yeah.
So I'm sorry, Toon fans, unless we see some action here, I think Steve Bruce is a good shout for first manager to be fired next season.
Yeah,
Like you've heard it here. That's my hot take.
I think I agree. Like they haven't done anything. They've just set this transfer window out.
Yeah,
And you'd say last year's season was not a great season for Newcastle. Sure, they
yeah,
didn't get relegated, but it wasn't a particularly pretty season.
yeah,
So yeah, it felt like the sort of thing, sort of transfer window where they needed to be buying players, strengthening bits, and they don't even seem to have any rumors about anything. It looks completely like they've just gone, this transfer window, we don't need it. We're fine. So yeah, I feel that's say a solid F for the transfer window, and yeah, you'll be shopping for a new manager soon.
yeah. Now, going on from them to another club who might be a fellow relegation struggler, Norwich City.
Mm,
I actually like the business they've done. A lot of good players, got a lot of players who are going to come in. Ben Gibson, I think Billy Gilmore is going to do really well. Dimitri Giannopoulos, I think, has been playing pretty well at PAOK the last few years. So those are all solid signings, I think. All around in the defense, we all know Norwich can attack, and even 2 seasons ago when they were in the Premiership, attacking was not a problem. They were getting
yeah,
goals,
yeah, yeah,
and this team, I think, have even gotten even more attacking as When they were in the championship. I think maybe the only thing is Timo Pukki is a bit getting on in years now at 31.
Mm.
Still productive. I don't know if he'll be able to make the step up again from another time. But yeah, other than that, everything good. I think I can't give them an A. I think I'll give them a B plus just because I think they do need to find if Pookie doesn't get on the goal sheet often, they are gonna struggle.
Yeah, yeah,
And that is the difference between surviving and getting relegated.
yeah.
Um, so I think they need
Especially for
to
Norwich.
yeah. So I think they need to unless they think their defense is gonna help them, which yeah, not done that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, that like decent, good transfer window. B plus for me.
Yeah, no, I agree that it's a decent
Like,
transfer window. They got good players in there. I don't know if I'd give them a B plus, but a B
I
is
think,
seems fair to
yeah,
me.
I think like the squad with these transfers in, Norwich can expect to stay up.
Yeah.
It obviously depends on luck of the draw and how the dice rolls with injuries, but
Mm.
yeah, they've got bodies. So, if injury does end up getting them relegated, that's really bad luck. It's not on the transfer window at that point. Another club that could potentially struggle in the relegation battle, Southampton. They also have not bought too many players in Romain Peru from and Theo Walcott going back to his home to his original home in Southampton. And yeah, I can't say that Southampton signings excite me, and they've had a lot of semi-key players going out. Ryan Bertrand, who's a
Mm.
and uh, yeah, like the other players are all just kind of in the squad and not really that are going out that are not really that important and probably did need to be sold. But yeah, it's not doesn't excite me, but I don't think Southampton is too worried. I feel like they could get another big signing in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think yeah, Southampton. I'll give them B minus for this for, for this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you've right it. You said one there where it's nothing too exciting to me.
Yeah, but they had a
Solid.
decent squad anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's solid. They were okay.
Like
It feels more C plusish to me.
yeah, maybe
As
C
a,
plus because like the they basically replaced
I
Bertrand
mean, they
with
were
another left
15th
back.
last year.
Yeah.
I mean, which is not the greatest. It was 43 points, which is a good haul. Um,
Yeah, and at one point though, Southampton looked like they could finish in the top 10.
yeah,
So that's probably a disappointment to them.
yeah. So I feel like they do have a solid squad, but these transfers once again, and they're improving, but could be better. So it's a C plus. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's solid. It's getting you what you need, but there's nothing amazingly outstanding in there.
Now, going on from them, we've got Tottenham Hotspur. Now, they have lost in the window so far. Danny Rose on a free to Watford. Uh, Paulo Gazaniga to Fulham. They've done a swap deal with Eric Lamela for Brian Gill to Sevilla. Like I think Brian Gill is an exciting young talent, but Eric Lamela is a good player too.
Yeah,
And they've signed in uh the Pierluigi Golini from Atalanta on a loan, which I think will be with the thing to buy if he does well. Because I
yeah,
think
yeah.
yeah, Spurs do need another keeper, so that's a good buy. But there's the elephant in the room in that Spurs may have to sell Jack Grealish.
Okay,
And let's be fair, the Jack Grealish go if Jack Grealish go sorry, not Jack
Harry
Grealish.
Kane.
What am I saying? Harry Kane goes, he's probably going for at least 150 million. That's
Mm.
a bare minimum. I feel like Harry Kane is such a good player. If it were not COVID times, he would be the player who breaks Neymar's record and becomes the most expensive player in the world. Like that is the caliber of player he is.
Yeah, yeah.
But in COVID times, 150 mils, and if he wants to go, I don't think they can really say no, right? They kind of have to.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, if they're sprouting that much money up for him, then yeah, I don't know.
They have
It's always
managed to
hard to turn down that money.
re-sign. I have to point out they did manage to re-sign Son to a
Yes,
new contract,
I saw
so
that as
that's a
well.
plus for them.
Yeah.
Keeping a good player like him and the club. And the squad is good.
Yeah.
The only thing is Alderweireld might leave, whose name Toby,
Oh, yeah.
whose name I can never pronounce. But he is already getting on in years, and if they do move on from him and move on from, well, not really move on from Harry Kane, but if they have to sell Harry Kane, I think they will get the reinforcements.
Mm. I think that's the bit.
Yeah, I
Is
can't give them a low grade. I think they've done as well as possible with the hand they've been dealt.
yeah.
Um, other than a few players they've had to let go on a free, but who haven't probably performed in a while for Spurs. So like Danny Rose, unfortunately. Yeah, I think our Spurs, yeah, B. I just hope they basically this is all reliant on I think Harry Kane's transfer will be done before the end of the week. This will give them time to buy an adequate replacement or an
Yeah.
adequate bunch of replacements.
That was pretty much going to be my thought. Was it's going to come down to if Kane goes, when he goes, and when they get the money in, and them having time, or and I'm assuming they've got the plans in place. If Kane goes, then here's the players we target.
They can also get Gareth Bale on loan again.
Oh yeah,
Then that would also be obviously that changes everything as well.
yeah,
Like,
that makes everything a little different. But
yeah,
I don't know it helps for their season, but I still feel that if Kane goes, they need to spend that money on a
they need
marquee
to get
replacement.
Lukaku.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. They need to get someone. They get that money. They need to get someone replaced in there.
I mean, if
Because
150 mil, they can get Erling Haaland.
yeah,
So there is that.
there is that. That's because yeah, the thing is that Kane's taking a whole heap of gold with him, so they need something to replace that.
Yeah. But for 150 mil, you can just get
Yeah,
that.
you can't replace it.
And just go to Borussia Dortmund and go, yep, here's his buyout clause. See you later.
Thank you. Come with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel 150 million. You could probably make some other better deals anyway, as well. Like
Yeah,
you've
yeah. But
got you've got a lot of options there.
if you wanted to do a no fuss
Yeah,
swap,
yeah.
just be
This
like,
is
hey, here you
straight,
go. At least put in the
plug and play.
offer and go like, yeah, Erling, you want to play for us, right? And if he says no, that's okay. Like,
Yeah,
you at least tried.
you tried. You still got your 150 million, so
Yeah,
you can still go shopping.
yeah, yeah. Or you could maybe go for Mbappe
Mm,
or like I said, or Lukaku
yeah,
at that point. But yeah, I think as you said, B, we all agreed with that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Next up, Watford, who have a bunch of players coming in on free, including Joshua King from Everton and Danny Rose from Spurs, like we just mentioned.
Hmm.
Um, Watford is a hard club to judge. They have a heap of people coming in and out. Also, we forgot to mention Spurs do have a new manager, Nuno Espirito Santo. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think I could do pretty well
Mm,
good with that. Now, the Watford squad, obviously, this is a club that's, I feel, once again gonna fight for relegation.
yeah.
They've got a bunch of experienced players and people like Danny Rose in there who can obviously help the club stay up. They've got Tom Cleverley. in their midfield, and now Joshua King coming in as a striker. I mean, they've given themselves the ability. They've signed the players they could sign. It's just what will. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the transfer window. I'm gonna give it a B. Like I don't know if this means Watford will stay up because that's really reliant on how their owners react and what's gonna happen with their new manager. What's his name? Cisco, he's also a first-time manager.
All right, yeah.
Cisco with an X.
Uh, yeah, I mean,
Yes.
it's a decent enough transfers. So I think you're right that Watford are still going to be in the relegation battle. But I sort of feel that the transfers are looking decent for that. So I mean, there's nothing in there that seems like it's going to cause any problems. They've got
Yeah.
some decent players, as you say. They've got some good sort of younger players, fill-in players. So I think that's
Yeah.
a decent transfer, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So I think we're all agreed with the B, B minus maybe.
I'd go B, I think.
Yeah, B. Fair enough. Next up, we have the Hammers or the Irons. West Ham United. Uh, they so far have had a relatively quiet transfer window. Um, with Craig Dawson is the only player to come in from Watford. A bunch of players going out on loan. Philippe Anderson going to Lazio, which is fine, I think. But yeah, I think West Ham are still obvious. They're in the market. They're looking for players, but
Mm.
I think they're in a position where they just have to, like they can't re-sign Jesse Lingard. He played too well for them under loan at loan. And there's a bunch of their players who are, people are after. Like if they can keep Rice, Declan Rice, since because if he goes to either United or to Chelsea, then things obviously take a turn, depending on obviously how much money they get and when they can use that money and how they can use that money. So yeah, I think so far I can't. They're managing to keep, other than Jesse Lingard, who wasn't their player to keep anyway.
That's
Most of
back in
their
January anyway. So.
Yeah, no, as in like he didn't stay on loan.
Oh right, yeah. I mean, yes,
Club,
yes,
they couldn't convince United to make it a permanent loan deal.
yeah,
Yeah, other than that, yeah, they've so far done reasonably well in this transfer window, like to keep their players.
yeah,
So yeah, I think I'm not gonna give them a B because they haven't gotten in any players. Um,
yeah,
and I think they should, given how many games they're gonna play this season, they will need reinforcements. So I'll give them a C. Yeah, give them a solid C. It's not a fail. They've passed, but yeah, that if they don't get anyone, that's going to be very difficult for them.
yeah. I mean, tossing up between a C and a C minus because it's right. It's solid. I think I'd go C if they keep their players, then it's a C,
Yeah,
um, because that showed some good work there just to keep them in, um, and not selling them for just the sake of selling them. Like if people aren't coming with decent offers, then well, they can stay here and play for us. It's fine, and we've kept them happy enough that
yeah,
it's not going to be a problem. So um, it's so that's that. But as I say, it hasn't really. Nothing seems to be really happened in the transfer window either. They haven't brought anyone in. It's almost like they've not participated in the transfer window either, and say other people around them are improving their
yeah,
squads. But at the same point, by not letting some of their key players go, they've ensured that their squad is kept at the quality that it was. But
yeah.
once again, with the extra European games, they're going to be more stretched this season. I don't know. So maybe I'm
Absolutely.
getting back to the C minus idea, just because that I think it's tilted on the fact that they've got more games this season, so it's
Sure.
yeah going to be harder from that way.
Fair enough. And our final club, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Obviously, they've already had their big loss this season. Nuno Espirito Santo going to Spurs. Obviously, class manager, rate him very well. So even though we were mocking Spurs a few weeks ago because they still hadn't managed to replace Jose Mourinho in one of the worst executed firing of a manager I've ever seen.
And this bowls all the other firings of Jose
Yeah.
Mourinho.
Yeah. Now, that being all said, Wolves so far pretty good. Decent. Rui Patricio's left, but they got decent money for him at to Roma, and they
Yeah.
have uh, they have decent goalkeepers at the club anyway,
Mm.
so that's not too bad. And Jose Sa's come in as well, who's basically almost a like for like replacement, I think, the younger version.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so they've so far had a pretty good, I think that's a good transfer window. A lot depends on their new manager, what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
Um, the club, I don't think the club are going to struggle for relegation. Just make that clear. I think the Wolves are just a really well-run club at the moment. I think they've got good signings. I can't give them anything less than a solid B, I think. Maybe even a B plus. Yeah. Like the window, there's nothing wrong with it. The coach stuff, I can't penalize the window for that.
No. No. That's a different thing. I guess that's the only real issue though is that if
Yeah,
depending on
whether
the coach they get.
this is a squad good enough to stay in the top 10 for
Yeah.
Wolves. If Wolves fan, if you're wanting to be a top 6 club, I don't know if this squad is good enough, but I think, it's very difficult to be a top 6 club. Arsenal
Yeah.
aren't a top 6 club.
No.
That's just facts. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And even after this transfer window, Arsenal still perhaps aren't a top six squad yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that comes into it. I was thinking also it depends on the manager they get and their style and how they want to play. And having had to go through a part of a transfer window or a transfer window without a manager, almost makes it harder to know whether these transfers are gonna work. Because it could all get thrown out, but unlikely, but possible. But I
Yeah.
think, yeah,
But
there's
their
nothing wrong with
owners,
it.
yeah, sorry, go on.
So there's nothing wrong with it. So I would give it a B as well. So
Yeah.
nice solid mark.
Yeah, I mean, I presume even the players in their club that I don't know that well, who are the players in the club who I don't know that they're out coming in. I'm assume they're good because Fosun International, the company that owned them, are pretty good with their analytics.
Yeah.
And their incoming manager is Bruno Lage or Lage, know how you pronounce it, but he's surprise, surprise, also from Portugal. And yeah, he's probably also somebody who's um, done reasonably well. And he was manager of Benfica before coming here, so yeah, he's got solid experience at leading a top club. And but he has a lot of good Portuguese players in this team, so yeah.
Well, yeah.
Though, apparently, because of Brexit, he has to have a hearing for a work permit. He doesn't automatically qualify? Or he did have to, but then yeah, after he got that done, now
All
he's
right.
in
Yeah.
there. Like, yeah, buddy, he used to coach Benfica, a club that's won the Champions League twice. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like, yeah, and he won the Primeira Liga for Benfica in 2018, 2019. So yeah, thanks. I mean, that doesn't guarantee anything at the Premiership level, obviously, but yeah, like I can't say Wolves have gotten someone randomly from nowhere. He could
Yeah. Yeah.
sounds like a good manager.
Yeah. Well, you
Somebody who
wouldn't.
could end up becoming like Nuno became a top manager after being at Wolves. This guy could do the same thing.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect them to have got an absolute no one. So you'd be a someone. So that's good.
Yeah, taking all that into account, yeah, B plus I think is fair. I think a
Yeah.
very accurate rating.
Yeah. I think I'll drop it down to a B, but just because be different.
To argue with me.
Yeah. Why not?
Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, that's our review of the transfer window.
Mhm.
Look forward to us review it. Now, we are
Mm.
going to do something, a new thing this season as well. Now, before we get on to that, do you let us know? Do you agree with us? Do you think we're being a bit harsh on some of these clubs, like especially Chelsea, who got a straight F?
So, yeah,
Uh, and things like that. And am I being too harsh on Liverpool, giving them a failing grade? I think yeah, but yeah, just get in there. Tell us why we're wrong, or if we're wrong. If you agree with us, tell us we're awesome. We love hearing that. I'm sure.
yeah. I could
Like,
listen to people tell me I'm awesome for days.
yeah, like so. Now we are gonna follow a club outside the Premiership, very specifically for reasons that should be obvious to anyone who's familiar with us.
Yeah,
We're going to be following AS Roma for the
yeah.
rest of the season. Is it for the whole of the season or till Mourinho, till or if slash when Mourinho gets fired, sort of thing?
Yeah, I think the latter. I think we follow them until Mourinho gets fired, and then we laugh at how he gets fired.
That's fair.
Yeah, because there's
So
not a lot of if in there. It is a win. It may not be this season. This may last through a couple of seasons.
this could
Who
be
knows?
a couple of season series, is what you're
Yeah,
saying. Fair enough.
this could be
Now,
multi-seasonal. Who knows?
so Roma did not qualify for Europe.
Sad.
So they're only playing in the Serie A. Obviously
Mm,
there's a Coppa Italia in there. It's that they'll be so far. We had a review of their results and their friendlies so far, which has been pretty much against Serie B teams, or at least teams that look like they play in second division. And now they're going to be playing FC Porto in a friendly on Thursday, and then they're going to play Real Betis
yeah,
both away. Um, and the Serie A starts at on the 23rd of August, where they open up against Fiorentina, and they at the end of the month they play Salernitana. Both winnable games for Roma. I think very, very doable. What do you think?
yeah.
What are we gonna say? Jose Mourinho, how many wins does he start on?
Um, let's look. So, I mean, looking at this through, yeah, you should get through the two games in August fairly easily. So Fiorentina, that might be. That's a fairly tough first game of the season, ish. But I would say
It's at
AS
home.
Roma. It is at home, and AS Roma should have the class for that. Um, and looking through September, like it's not till you get to the end of September, Udinese and Lazio, that maybe they're starting to be um, things. And Udinese is home as well, so it's the trip to Lazio, and on September 27th. I think it's going to be the real first
Uh,
challenge.
I think also Sassuolo, who finished fourth
Yeah,
last
but once again,
season, are a good team. But again,
they're at
I
home.
guess it depends on
It's
whether or
fine.
not they get to keep Locatelli
Yeah, yeah,
in that team. You're right. Hellas Verona, Udinese are both clubs. Like, both while they're good clubs, I think Roma should be able to beat them.
yeah.
I'm gonna go the Mourinho's gonna win his first two games. I think he'll draw against Sassuolo because that's what he's gonna set his team up for.
But it's at home. Yeah, he's if it was away, definitely. At home, it does tend to set up a little bit more attacking at home, or at least a little bit more geared towards getting a win as opposed to saving a draw. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I
it's
mean,
I was given that one being at home,
true.
but it's but you're right. It may be the one where it's the draw. Um,
Yeah, we do
but
have a potential banana peel month to look forward to in October because Roma play Empoli at home and then Juve away, Napoli at home, and Cagliari away.
oh yeah, That's not
So
looking
that
like a good
looks
month.
like a tough group of games
Yeah.
for them. And
That's coming off Lazio away the end of September as well. So
and December looks just as tough. They've got Bologna, Inter,
mm,
and Atalanta and Sampdoria in there.
yeah,
So yeah, another rough series of games to play to before Christmas. And January they have AC Milan, followed by Juve, followed by Cagliari
yeah,
and Empoli. Though Caligari at home, so less of an issue. But yeah, there's a bunch of there's 3 months there that 3 potential months where Jose could be under a bit of pressure.
yeah.
And the season ending,
Well, yeah,
looking
the
up
season
to my,
ending is not looking.
we're assuming that he's fighting for the the title, right? We're not. So towards the end of the
Um,
season, and
the only assumption we're really making is that he's still around. But
yeah, that's true.
yeah, at the end of the season, assuming AS Roma is doing well, they should be fighting
And
for somewhere near the top, whether that's title, whether that's just Champions League spots, either or.
so they have Napoli and Internazionale back to back away
Yeah, away.
at the end of April, which is a tough set of games, and then they get to play Bologna at home and then Fiorentina away from home.
Yeah,
These could all be Euro qualifier games against Napoli, Internazionale, Fiorentina,
yeah.
but they play Venezia and Torino, which are both games I feel like Roma should win, but who knows about Jose? We don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and March is not that easy. They've got Atalanta, and then they've got Udinese
Away
away,
and
and then
Lazio
they've
at
got
home.
Lazio.
Yeah,
So March is a tough group of games as well.
yeah,
Like they're lucky they don't have a Copa. They don't have a Champions League or Europa League to play.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Some hard collections of games there at key points in the season as well. So
yeah. So that's our preview of Mourinho's season to come.
mhm.
Now, end of season. What are we predicting for Mourinho? End of season result. Where will he finish? Will he get fired? And if he gets fired, when will he get fired?
I, I I feel like probably won't be fired this season. I think we'll get a full season out of him
I agree. We
at
will get a
Roma.
full season out of him.
Yeah, we normally get. He's normally pretty good for the first full season. I mean, he did get half a season last year,
Yeah.
so who knows? And it's yeah, who knows a little bit. But I feel like he'll finish the season. I feel like AS Roma, whilst they've got those hard collection of games there, they'll do reasonably well this season. And I think it's set up for them that they've got hard connections where they need to focus in, but they can still be collecting the points elsewhere and moving their way through. So I feel positive for them. I feel
Yeah.
like it's
Are they gonna be champions?
no
Are they gonna finish in a
well,
Champions League spot?
that's
Are
three.
they
It's
gonna
three
finish in a
spots.
UEFA spot, or are they gonna finish outside Europe?
It's three slots for Champions League initially, is it?
It is.
Yeah, I think they might be battling for that third spot, but it may be a Europa League type level. You got yeah, it's probably. I mean,
Actually,
I
it
think
might be 4 now
well,
for
back
Italy.
to four. That might give them a better shot at it.
'Cause I think it's 4 for Italy, and it's they improved it to 4 for France as well.
All right.
The way the new Champions League ends up
Oh yeah,
working out.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the game on Thursday may against the friendly against Porto may actually be a good indication about how the season's going.
Sure.
Um, if that's a, I mean, it's a friendly, so it's more about sorting things out and getting there. But if it's a decent enough game, then I think that spells well for Roma for the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I feel fourth or fifth is probably where they're going to end up. So that's why I thought if it was a three 3 teams into the Champions League for Italy, then it might be a bit tough. But if it's 4, then I would expect them to potentially be there. It will be pretty. If it's missing out, it's only just missing out.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the Italy is number 3 in the club coefficient, UEFA club
Okay,
coefficient.
so just give them 4 then.
They should
Yeah.
get 4. I think the Bundesliga are the 4th place league at the moment, and I think they get 4
Yeah.
ups as well. But they could. So you reckon they'll at least finish in the top 4, get the Champions League spot?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Well, I'm expecting a 4th place, so I don't think they'll be top 3. I think they'll be 4th or 5th. I would hope that would mean they would make that last Champions League spot, but I won't be too surprised if it's 5th.
Yeah, fair enough. So you reckon at least a European
Yeah.
spot, but that's your floor, and your ceiling is Champions League. You're not thinking they're gonna win Serie A. All right. So that's your floor and
Yeah.
ceiling. I will, because Inter are in trouble. They're gonna have to sell
Mm.
players. Juve will probably sell Cristiano Ronaldo to PSG, or at least he'll be allowed to leave. And they're gonna have a bunch of things coming in and out. And obviously they've got Sarri coming back to Juve, so they're gonna have to adapt to Sarri ball.
Yeah.
So this is the situation for those two. Napoli are solid, but they always have something go wrong for them. Like they're just unlucky. Atalanta are just are really, really good. So yeah, I don't think Roma are gonna win. I think those 4 clubs are in a better position to win, even with their
Yeah.
problems ahead of Roma. So let's get that out. Top 4, once again, are Roma good enough to beat any of those 4 clubs? And there's also Sassuolo in there. Tough to say. But I do think they will get a Euro shot. I'm gonna say Euros are their ceiling. And their floor is obviously out of the Euros, like not even qualifying for Europe, which they did last season, and that could happen under Jose as well. I feel like he won't get fired, even if that happens, even if he finishes like 8th or 9th. If he's shown to be improving things and getting the most out of the players he has, then I think Roma might invest and let him let him stay and do better.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. So yeah, that's my thing. I don't think Jose Mourinho is getting fired, but I don't think the ceiling is top 4. I think the ceiling is Euro. And there's a lot of good coaches in Italy now. That's not, he can't rely on his specialness to win.
But he's a special one.
I know.
He's been a special one for nearly 20 years now.
All right, so guys, tell us what you think about Mourinho. Is he going to have a stellar season? Is he going to win Roma's first ever Serie A since the days of Hideyoshi Nakata and Francesco Totti? Is he going to get them back into Champions League? Let us know. Oh, I mean, I even forgot about AC Milan, who finished in the top 4 last season as well. So there you go. Second. So yeah. That's a lot of competition for Roma to finish in the top 4. The Serie A might be just as difficult for a top 4 finish now as the Premier League now.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at last season, the top 8. You got Inter Milan, mile ahead, Milan, Atalanta, Juve. There were 79, 78, 78 for those. Milan, Atalanta, and Juve. Napoli was on 77 and 5th. There was a bit of a drop off then to Lazio on 68. Roma was 62. Sassuolo on 62. So
yeah, that's the other question. Is Roma going to finish ahead of Lazio?
Yeah.
Special one's going to do it?
Special one's going to do that. That's what I was thinking, was that, say, Inter's perhaps into a Juve maybe not as awesome this coming year as they were last year.
Yeah.
Roma improving.
And also AC Milan, probably. Yeah.
So the Milans, Atlanta, Juve, Roma. Somewhere there.
It'd be cool if Atlanta won the Serie A. That would be amazing. Because they are probably the most fun team to watch in Europe, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all we have time for.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. If you have any suggestions and stuff you want to bring up as well. But in the meantime, take care. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and thank you for listening.
Catch you next time.